Me, the main thing is working with clients who have a clear purpose and vision and are trying to make the world a better place, and then come to me to turn those ideas into a tangible product that they can then share with the world.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Virtual Coffee Break with Bublup. I'm your host, Wade Sellers, and today I've got content creator, communications consultant, videographer, photographer, all the things, Joanna Afghani. Good morning, Joanna.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing super well. Joanna, where are you calling in from, and what are you drinking this morning?
I'm calling in from Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, and I'm drinking Samahan. It's a delicious, healthy drink that I discovered last year in Sri Lanka. It's so good. You gotta try it sometime.
Very cool. Will do. I haven't heard of that one before. So I know that you work with brands and you do some really cool projects to help move brands forward, help find their voice and send their message out there. I want to get into that a little bit, but first, could you give us just a brief introduction of maybe some of the projects you've worked on so we can get into it from there?
Absolutely. So I've had the opportunity to work with such a broad range of clients. It makes me so happy. Everything from small local businesses to bigger clients like Alliance or SOS Children's Villages. And for me, the main thing is working with clients who have a clear purpose and vision and are trying to make the world a better place, and then come to me to turn those ideas into a tangible product that they can then share with the world. So I feel super lucky about the brands and corporations and organizations and all the little ones in between that I've got to work with, and Bublup helps me keep all of those different moving parts in one place.
I imagine that these projects are bigger scale, bigger budget, lots of moving parts. Are you traveling a lot with these as well?
Yeah, so I was primarily based in Europe for most of the past 5 years, and I was mainly living in Prague, but I, moved around a little bit as well and lived in Italy and Portugal, but mainly in Prague. And I think everyone kind of knows, or anyone who's had the luxury of going to Europe knows how easy it is to travel around. So I was able to work with clients all around Europe, which was so lovely. And yeah, so there's a lot of travel that was involved in my experience. It's not always like that, but I sort of like being able to travel and work that into my line of work. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Professionally traveling is my favorite way to travel. Traveling with a purpose and a paycheck is a really cool way to do it. I'd love to dig into how you work on a project like this, potentially traveling or working with a large team, and how you keep all this stuff together and actually get from concept to deliverables. How does Bublup fit into a project?
So the way that I like to use Bublup is to create a shareable folder where I can then put everything related to a project, share that with the client, and just keep all the different moving parts in one place. Because as any content creator will tell you, there are so many different moving parts and files and release forms and a lot that goes into what might even look like a simple project. There is a lot of different moving parts, and you don't want to have, a client looking through an email or asking you like, where did you send me this or where did you put that? You want it to be all really organized so that it's easy for you as the, creator, so that you don't spend a lot of time looking for stuff, but also for your client, you want it to be a good, easy, effortless experience for both parties.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that a lot of times we have a document in an email, something in a Google Doc, something's over in this shared drive. Oh, it's on my desktop. I forgot to send it. And you always have that spot. And it sounds like Bublup is a place where you bring all that together so you don't have that wonder of where things are at.
Absolutely.
In your folder, when you're working with a client, do you start out with like an iterative process? So you're creating content and also editing and putting together the deliverable. Is there a structure that you build into your folder of like, this is the raw and then the edit? Is that how it works for you?
So I would have 3 different parts. One is for the pre-filming, one is for the raw files once we've got them, and one is for everything related to the edit once it's done, any final notes, that kind of thing. And I find that's just makes logical sense to have it that way. And just, yeah, you want things to be organized both for your client, but also yourself and your sanity.
That's cool. I've noticed a little bit of a trend with these interviews is that people are treating Bublup folders almost like a Kanban board where you have a to-do, doing, and done, and then they're using whatever context they have. So yours being a project and media related, you have a raw files and approvals and then final product for the customer.
Absolutely, yeah. It just helps me organize things that way. And I remember before, I wasn't really organized when I first started freelancing. And it was a nightmare to remember like where I put things and like having so many folders on my desktop and like having files everywhere and like attachments everywhere. So like I've really learned one thing that I carry through all of my clients is be organized, have everything in one place. If they say something to you, write it down. Like that really saves you time and time again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I imagine that there's probably a lot of documentation that even goes into this. I think about big clients and little clients, and I've worked with some larger clients as well in client work, and it's the documents and also just the 5 or 6 really critical people all need to be on the same page with multiple things, typically in an iterative process. Is that how it works with you?
Yeah, there's, you've got to have those release forms and those contracts and to make sure that everyone is checked off and approved of something. So I've had, a project where I did an interview and then all of a sudden someone found out that we used a specific word that was like no longer the terminology that they used. So we had to go back and redo the whole interview. So it definitely is to everyone's benefit if you've got everything, like every little thing in a folder where everyone can see it and sign off beforehand, because it saves you so much time, effort, money, energy.
I just did an interview where we talked about organizing media, and I started to hear that there's a structure that she put in place for how she would organize all of her audio and visual and video photography and everything. Do you have a structure that works for you as well when it comes to projects?
So when we start at the idea stage, it's mainly about finding what that idea is. And sometimes it is helpful to have other photos or videos that you can use as inspiration. Look those through and then figure out what your specific idea is or what the client's specific idea is. From there, I'll make a shot list and a script. And we'll work on that together with the client to make sure it reflects the idea and the vision. And once we've got that, we'll actually plan out, okay, where the location is going to be, what's that going to look like, and we'll make it a little bit more specific. And then once we've filmed and actually have the content, what I do is I go through and I watch all of the clips. And I pick the ones that are good, that I like, and I take away everything else. So now I've got, the clips that I can work with, and I bring it into my video editing program, and I just try to get it all in a row to see how things look. And sometimes, 2 specific clips look better together than others. So I sort of edit from within there. But it certainly helps to make sure that like when you do bring in your files onto your laptop, that you back it up to a hard drive, but also in the cloud, because hard drives break, and it's good to have things stored in multiple places, especially while the project is still being worked on and isn't done. So it's good to have, multiple places where you've saved things. And even I've had, clients save a copy of everything in Bublup. So that way, if anything were to happen to a hard drive or laptop, we've got it somewhere.
Yeah, that seems to be a consistency when it comes to like professional content creators, is a physical spot where you can say it's on this disk, but also a spot in the cloud where you can say, if I need to get to it, it's there, or if I need to share a component, it's there. I guess one other thing I just have is, if someone is working with clients or they're going to work on a video project with clients, do you have any other tips for success when it comes to maybe managing that with a team or working together with or without Bublup? I'm just wondering.
I would say my biggest tip is have a very clear contract and go through exactly what the end product should look like and be super specific. Like there should be absolutely nothing that is arbitrary or that you'll figure out, because that is not a good idea. And you might have issues where the client will be like, oh, I wish it could have been like this. And you're like, well, we already filmed it. So the biggest thing is know beforehand exactly what you want the product to look like, and keep everything organized and like have a nice written document of like, these are the colors we want. These are the emotions that we want. This is the product that we want, and just always be specific and always organized.
Yeah, stay organized, have a signature with it. You're just going to save emotional arguments or whatever, or the gray area definition of what the project was in the end. So that's smart. Joanna, this is an awesome conversation. We're running a little short on time, but I know that there's probably some questions about working with clients, or how you work with clients, or how you use Bublup while working with clients. If someone had any questions, how could they reach out to you?
Well, I would probably say reach out to me on Instagram at littlejoybook, or if you want to send me an email, littlejoybook@gmail.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can.
I love it. I love it. Joanna, thank you so much for taking a moment to talk to us this morning. I really, really, really enjoyed it. Cheers to you, and I hope to have you on the show again.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.
See ya.